The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected an appeal from a Guantanamo Bay prisoner who has been behind bars now for 17 years, raising new questions and concerns about the treatment of the remaining prisoners and, more so, who should still be detained under U.S. anti-terrorism and combatant laws. RT correspondent John Huddy is live for us with more on this very contentious issue. John?
Yeah, that it is, Manila. Well, the story today really focuses on the case of Moath al-Alwi. He's a Yemeni citizen that was born and raised in Saudi Arabia, who U.S. forces detained in Afghanistan back on October 7th, 2001. Well, U.S. military officials say that al-Alwi admitted to being part of the Taliban and accused him of being a bodyguard slash driver for Osama bin Laden. Here's the thing. He's never been charged with any war crime and has been held at Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, as it's called in short, for 17 years. Now, while the Supreme Court has rejected hearing the case, Justice Stephen Breyer called attention to it, writing in a two-page statement that it is, quote, past time to confront the difficult questions, he says, left open by this case, the al-Alwi case, and others in regards to basically who can and should be held by the U.S. government as suspected enemy combatants like al-Alwi, as long as fighting between the U.S. and, in his case, the Taliban and al-Qaeda continue as defined in the Authorization for Use of Military Force Act, or the AUMF Act. Breyer goes on to write in this statement, Manila, that, quote, the government represents that such hostilities are ongoing, but does not state that any end is in sight. As a consequence, al-Alwi faces the real prospect that he will spend the rest of his life in detention based on his status as an enemy combatant a generation ago, even though today's conflict may differ substantially from the one Congress anticipated when it passed the AUMF, as well as those conflicts that inform the development of the law of war. So that is a pretty significant opinion by Justice Breyer. Justice Brett Kavanaugh recused himself from this case. Kavanaugh served, as you may recall, from 2006 to 2008 on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, the court that's basically ruled on all Gitmo cases. He also served as a top aide to President George W. Bush when the Guantanamo detention policies were created, when they were enacted. Now, the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, just a little background here, was created in 2002, and of the 780 prisoners that have been held there, 40 remain at this point. Many have been held without charges or trial as military detainees or enemy combatants, and there are also those so-called quote-unquote forever prisoners, basically those prisoners accused of being high-value targets, such as drivers, bodyguards, or aides to Osama bin Laden and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the accused architect, of course, of the 9/11 attacks. There have also been widespread allegations, very well-documented allegations of prisoner abuse, even torture. There have also been numerous calls, of course, to close the camp going back to the Bush administration. Ramzi Qassem, he's a law professor at the City University of New York and a lawyer for al-Alwi, said that there's no evidence that al-Alwi ever took up arms against the United States and called his imprisonment unconstitutional.
He has not been charged with any crime, let alone convicted. The U.S. courts that have looked at his case so far have found that there is no evidence that he ever took up arms against the United States or its allies. That point is not even disputed. So the fact that the government has still fought tooth and nail to keep him at Guantanamo after 17 years, and the courts have signed off on that, really speaks the extent to which, or reflects the extent to which both the law and the government have become cruel and inhumane in these cases.
And again, this case and others are, of course, being highlighted in regards to the concerns about keeping these detainees there. Of those still in prison at Gitmo, 5 have been cleared for release, but continue to be held at the detention camp. 26, according to the ACLU, have not been charged with a crime, but remain in detention and awaiting trial. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is among those high-value and high-risk detainees that are still being held, by the way, at Guantanamo Bay. Manila, back to you.
All right, RT's John Huddy, thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.